Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you can recall from the last episode, we basically put together an intro and sort of the first couple of bars of Prodigy's Need Someone. We will be remixing it on FL Studio. And this second episode, we will basically be working from the verse to the up to the chorus, but not including the chorus in this episode. So just to recap, we worked on the intro, which sort of led us build up to the first beat, the beat coming in and the synth. Which basically took us up to there. So to carry on with that, the next thing I've done is just to add this rising synth sound again, which featured at the beginning, just to give something now coming in the background. And we've got the crash. Sorry, we've got the 909 crash, and we've also got this sound effect. We've still got the snare, and we've still got the kick. We've still got the synth line, and we have at the end of this 16 beat part or 4-bar part, we get the intro here just dropping out, and then we go into the beat again. We've got this high synth, which if I just play the pattern, play all of the pattern. This was meant to completely go over the top of the intro, just to beef it up a bit, but it didn't quite work. But when you just have the first part of it, gives that like kind of high-pitched, almost like an animalistic kind of sound that in a lot of Prodigy tracks you do get that coming in on the first beat. You get that like screeching or scratching kind of sound. What we've also got is the roll and toms again, just to break the end of the second bar down to go into the third bar. And we've also got just a bit of the toms at the end here, just to give that live drummer feel and to break it down. So these have all really been explained in the first episode. Then what we have is on this 4-bar section, again it repeats, but then we lose pretty much the synth and the kick, and we have this synthesizer fill, which if I just play the pattern, that's obviously been taken, recreated from the original track, and if we play that in its entirety, we get it sort of breaks down a little bit to then go again into the next section. Now the next section is different because we introduce the hi-hats, which we have here. If I just play the pattern, okay. Oh, it's very subtle, but when it comes in, it just adds that little bit more. Sometimes the hi-hats can give the tempo a bit more pace to it. What we also have now is a different synth line, which is this one, and you'll recognize it. It's again created from the original track. If I play the pattern, so that's over the two synth lines here. So we have the high bit, the high part of the synth, and the low part of the synth. Whoops, just to give it that punch. So that's when now it becomes a bit more swingy and a bit more bounce to it. So if we play that, you can see that the hi-hats and that synth give it that bit more syncopated kind of feel, and really get into the swing of the hip hop, almost hip hoppy kind of track. And what we also have is, we had it appear once in the intro, but we have directly sampled from the original track, is that sound, just to give it that. It's almost like a siren, isn't it? So it just brings it to our attention. So in its entirety, we have. And then before we get into the chorus, we have certain parts of the song drop out. The kick is still there. The snare completely drops out. We have the toms rattling away. We have the glass smashing, and we have that like synth feel that sort of crescendos down, and then we roll into the chorus, which is basically, and then that synth feel again has been explained in part 1. We have the 909 crashes, and again, if you go to your samples, these have just been dropped directly onto the timeline at the appropriate place. And then we have the glass. So in its entirety. Obviously it loops back to the beginning, and then you can see where that rising synth sound comes back in the background of the beat, just to fill it in, and it sort of rises up across the 4 bars and gives it more, fills it out and gives it a bit more atmosphere. So let's just go into a little more detail with the beat. So let's go over to a blank section on the playlist, and let's drop in our kick 2 just there. I'll tell you what, let's put it here, and let's copy just 1 bar of our snares to make sure they're in the right place. This is why sometimes I prefer to use the playlist rather than to make patterns, because you can just drop it onto that's in the wrong place, drop it onto the playlist. So essentially that's the kick drum and the snare, and what we've also got within that in this pattern, if I go to my channel rack, I've got the 909 kick, which has got a compressor on it, and then I've also got this. It is almost like a kick drum. It's a standard Fruity Loops sample, but it's almost like quite a high frequency kick. That's just layered on top of the kick drum, just to give it that punch, that attack at the beginning, and make it stand out in the track a little bit better. So just the, bear with me, 909 on its own, which is hitting the low end, that's quite bassy, and then with the higher frequency kick, just very subtle, but it's just clicking that attack at the beginning, so it punches through the track. And then these again are just standard Fruity Loop sounds. This is my closed hi-hat across the kicks, no effects on that whatsoever, and then an open hi-hat just to give it that swing. And I've also got, if I remember correctly, the hi-hats coming in over the top of that. So if we add those in, you can see we get, it gives it a bit more syncopation, and it just, the hi-hats I've just added help to add the pace a little bit more. So that essentially is the first beat in the song. And what I've done in various places throughout the track is just giving it like a 2-bar pattern. So we have, let me just add the snare back in. That's what's missing. So we basically have, that was a bad example, that's basically where the kick drops. But you can see in certain places, so essentially the mix it up a bit in the beat. It's essentially just the snare pattern that varies over the course of the verse. Okay, so that concludes part 2 for now. Obviously, I hope this video has been helpful. Sometimes I can be a little fast-paced, so if you any comments you want to make about this video, just comment below. And if you subscribe, obviously you'll be notified when episode part 3 goes up. Make sure you check out part 1 if you haven't done so, and I'll leave you with a little section from the remix. Thank you for watching and enjoy.